Michelle Bryant.
Yes.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Oh, yes, we do.
So I did not know your background as much as I did when I read the bio. So you grew up in Millville, Glenwood area, and then you ended up going to, basic information. Millville Elementary, you ended up going all the
Cedar Grove Elementary, kind of like what you were sharing with me earlier.
School, Bay High School, like all of that. So you grew up here, so you kind of have a love for that. Graduated Bay High in 1994.
Yes.
And then MSU.
Mississippi State University.
Yep. And then United States Army.
Yes.
What'd you do in the Army?
So I was a 92 Yankee, which is supply.
Okay.
Yeah.
You enjoy it?
And I actually got skills. I actually had some skills I could use in the real world.
Was that a stab towards me?
No dig, no shade.
I could shoot something from a very long way away.
I think I was expert. Wait, which one is like the top? I can't remember.
Expert.
Expert. Yeah, I was expert. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you got some skills then.
Yes.
Okay, so after that, you have your master's degree in business administration.
Have my MBA.
Yep, 10 years medical.
Yes, healthcare administration.
And so now that I explained a little bit of that, now obviously you ran for local politics as far as Ward 2.
Yes, in Panama City.
Okay, and so I want to hit on all of that, but let's kind of like I'm gonna kind of like backtrack back into that resume. When it says 10 years healthcare, explain what have you been doing?
So I'm going to go back a little bit where in high school, I thought I was going to be a doctor, right? I was like, I'm going to go to UAB, become a pediatrician. Had my first class in anatomy and physiology, and I had to cut a pig. So I was like, I'm going to go into the side where I'm not having to deal with blood and people in that level. So with healthcare administration, I've worked with several different insurance companies. I have worked with private sector companies to help build their brand and training and curriculum. So that's the side of healthcare administration that I actually enjoyed for over 20 years.
So over 20 years you've been doing that. Okay. And so you've done that here.
Well, most of it, I've done it in Denver, Colorado, Jacksonville, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee, all over the U.S.
So kind of like all over the U.S. Okay. So if we dive into the political side, are you going to run again?
You just jump right out into it then. You didn't even wait till the end.
There's no.
I love it.
Because you ran against, what was her name?
Commissioner Lucas.
Yeah.
Yes.
What happened there? Well, I don't even remember the percentages. I don't remember the votes.
So, I believe it was maybe
pretty close, wasn't it?
Not really. Surprisingly, actually, it was a maybe 60-40. And when we did a report afterwards to kind of gauge the numbers and speak to citizens who voted, one of the things that stood out for me or in the data was that a lot of times when you're running, the biggest thing isn't necessarily what's your platform, it's your name recognition. And that was like a wow moment for me. Wow, I grew up here. I've been gone for over maybe 20 years. Most of my career wasn't here in Panama City. So when I came back and had been here for another 5-6 years, and when I decided to run, people knew me, but on the ballot, they weren't quite sure who it was, right? And so that was what we pulled from the data, is that a lot of people just kind of picked the person that had the name recognition. And so that's something that hopefully we can change. I don't mean it in a negative way, but hopefully people really look at what people bring to the table, the benefit for citizens, not just, hey, I know this name. I'm just going to bubble in this box and then come back. Hey, I didn't know that was you. You were the one that ran.
And we dealt with that a lot with my election. People called my dad afterwards and they were like, hey, I just voted for you. My dad was like, well, actually, it was my son. Like, the people weren't even paying attention during the election. So name recognition is definitely a thing. 60-40 still, I don't believe, is bad. Where were you on money?
Money, I thank you to all those who contributed to my campaign. But a lot of it came out of my pocket, to be honest.
Yeah.
We had sponsors who donated. But again, it was like people like, who are you again?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is my mom and this is my dad. And they were like, oh, I know them, but which child are you?
To be honest with you, though, I don't think that the problem is name recognition as so much as it is people not getting out and voting.
Oh, absolutely.
I just had Commissioner Peoples on last week, and his podcast actually just hit today. And one of the things that we talked about in that podcast is the fact that 70. So this past election for like Kamala Trump, like that whole thing, it was like 70% of the registered voters in this county voted.
But guess what, though?
In the local election, though, for that, only 20% voted. So these local elections that go on, not enough people are getting out. Now, what they also found out was, I think it was like only 12% were under the age, or 12% were under the age of 40, which means young, like my generation of people aren't getting out there and voting. I said the same thing about the county election and stuff like that. It's like, my generation's not paying attention yet.
Right.
And the ones that are paying attention, they want to have a piece of the pie later on in politics. So and once that happens, it's pretty much downhill from there. So I think it's just the fact that people just don't get out and vote anymore. And I think a lot of people, it's the whole thing of like not really thinking that your vote counts.
Right.
A lot of people think stuff's rigged all the time, and but I really do believe that was probably the majority of the issue.
That was the bigger issue, right? People just don't vote in local elections. I know for the city of Panama City, one of the commissioners was looking to move all elections to the November ballot.
I think they're successful with it at the beach
Not in
now.
yeah,
At the beach.
The beach
Panama
was,
City
but
Beach.
city of Panama City was not, because they saw a higher turnout during the election when it's something as big as a president of the United States or local senators.
But then I don't think that that's right, because the people that pay attention to national politics, they're not really paying attention to local politics.
Exactly.
So then they just go ahead. So I mean,
they're just bubbling in.
It's kind of like a lose-lose. So we did talk a little bit about your resume, but obviously I want to talk more about politics than anything.
I love talking about politics.
What made you want to run to begin with?
Ah, that's a good one. So I want to first say it was never my intent to run.
Yeah.
Okay. I was at the place in my life where I wanted to kind of relax, enjoy the fruits of my labor, right? But after the storm, I started seeing the area that I grew up in, right? Glenwood, Millville, that it wasn't getting the same attention as other areas. And so I was like, hey, I want to be a part of the change. Again, not thinking about running. How can I help? We're military, we're Army. How can I help? I have a special set of skills, and I'm not trying to quote Liam from Taken, my favorite movie.
Skills.
Yes. And so I wanted to help. So I placed myself a part of several different committees, advisory boards, call after call, Zoom after Zoom. And it just seems like the message wasn't getting through. And so then building a relationship with the then commissioner, I started realizing that this seat needs help. This seat needs someone that's going to be attentive to this specific ward. And I was noticing that in all the other wards, like their commissioners, shout out to all of the commissioners that take time and do their due diligence and civic duty. They were being intentional. They were really pushing the needle forward for their area. And that wasn't happening in Ward 2. It just wasn't. So I prayed about it, went to my family and friends, and they were like, we support this 100%. And I went and put my name on the ballot.
One of the things that I like, to the listeners out there, there's a lot of differences between county and city. And one of the things that I like about how the city does it, you're responsible for your ward. You're responsible for that area, and only the people in that area can vote for you. And a lot of people are against that. I love it. And the reason why is because you are out to make sure that area is taken care of. When you sit there and you try to say, like, commissioners that are taking over certain areas, and it's like, well, there's no separation of the areas of it, and everybody works towards the same cause. that's a bunch of bull crap because it keeps people from actually doing the work.
Totally
Because you're
agree.
able to pass it on to another commissioner, and nobody is designated to the area, and it gives you freedom to kind of do and kind of legislate however the hell you want. So with these wards, so Ward 2 covers what?
So Ward 2 covers Glenwood, parts of Millville, and actually parts of St. Andrews. And so it's an area that's a little at a disadvantage. There's not a economic development in the area. There's not a lot of businesses. We were just talking about Macedonia Apartments that was moved into Ward 2. You know that area, right?
Yeah.
So that area is in Ward 2. So it's a little bit of a depressed area. And so it needs a sensitive touch, an intentional touch, and someone that could bring that to the forefront and make change that would benefit that area.
So one of the things that obviously devastating to the area was Hurricane Michael and things like that. So like I said, I had on a representative from Lynn Haven. We were kind of talking, we hit on the code enforcement side of things. What I kind of wanted to get your take on it. I remember going to the NAACP forum that you did. There was a lot of chit chat, back and forth chatter about the mall area. How that had been being handled. I think you guys talked a little bit about code enforcement, how citizens have been treated by code enforcement versus big corporate entities and commercial properties and things like that. Can you elaborate a little bit more on like that as a whole? Like how code enforcement has been in the city of Panama City?
So, that's a deep one there. So with code enforcement in the area specific to Ward 2, as I mentioned, Glenwood, Millville, and parts of St. Andrews, it was rough. I remember after Hurricane Michael, maybe end of 2019, early part of 2020, I would sit on my mom's porch and I could literally count how many code enforcement cars rode up and down the streets. I would average between 9 to 10 a day. And we're talking in less than a 3-hour time span. And so as I began to research and develop relationships with the code enforcement departments, it became obvious that there was a distinct difference in how they handle different areas as well as commercial. And the other added piece is how they even code enforce their own property. One of the things I learned, especially in Glenwood, the city of Panama City is the biggest real estate owner, right? They own more lots than anyone else in this particular ward. And these areas were hideous. They weren't cut in years. They were just left to making the area very blight. And so code enforcement had kind of a separate way they handled different areas. And then in the city of Panama City, once you get code enforced and you don't take care of the issue, whatever it may be, then you have to go before a magistrate, and then your home is enforced and torn down or demolished, or the city takes over. And so that was happening rapidly in this community that I live in. And so it was a hot mess, for the lack of a better word. It was like the city was just taking people property, tearing down property. I do want to say today, because it was deep what you said, I actually met a young lady today who's in the department because we're looking to bring them in so that people can really understand that this department is serious. Like, you can't avoid the mail. You can't just think it's going to go away. They are trying to rebrand their image in the city of Panama City. They've actually changed their name from code enforcement to something different. They've removed the vehicles that look like police cars, and they're adding more color, different vibrant colors, and finding a piece of education for people so they know what it means and what resources are out there to help people not get their homes and property enforced. But again, I love all the changes that they're making, but you need to use the same force, not only with residents, but with commercial property owners as well as your own property,
Absolutely.
right?
100%.
It just was definitely for the lack of a better word, a discriminatory practice where everyone wasn't treated fairly when it came to code enforcement.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask again.
Okay.
Are you running again?
Ooh, am I running again?
So we're just going to go one question, we'll go back to that one.
Because I didn't answer it before, did I?
Because if you are planning on running again, I've got a different set of questions than what I would ask you if you're not.
Okay, so to answer that question today, the answer would be no. I do not look to run again. At this place in my life, I feel like I'm a little bit more effective outside of that whole circus. And I use circus loosely. I think there's a lot of things when you're in government and politics that you have to do, right? It's things behind the scenes that we don't get the privilege of seeing. And we have to respect that because we're not in that position. I like being on the outside from that lens where it's more community focused and community based, where you kind of have a little bit more freedom in trying to help others versus when you're working in the government.
Yeah, and you might not agree with me on this because I've got friends that are politicians and work in those areas, and they don't like it when I say this, and nobody would like it when they hear this, but it's like, and I'm sure you probably felt this when you were running, but to win, to be able to get along with everybody and win everybody over, you can't be yourself, and there is a portion of that where I don't believe that there are honest politicians. I believe that they could be there's this common thing that they all hold in common, like anybody who holds office, and it's this, well, you got to give and take. You can't just you can't always be well, it's got to be this way. You have to get along with others, and I love it when politicians say that, because I say, if the guys if the guys back in the 1700s would have looked at it that way, we wouldn't have a country.
Right.
You have to fight for your constituents and the people that are around you for what they want, regardless.
Absolutely.
And if you sit there and you say, well, I have to get along on this, it's like, dude, it's very, very, a lot of people don't like to look at things as black and white. I'm one of them. I don't like looking at everything in a black and white, but there are some things that are black and white. And where you stand for, when you run for office and you stand on somebody's front doorstep and you tell them, hey, this is how I look at things. This is the reason why politicians are looked at as pieces of garbage.
Right.
Is because you sit on somebody's doorstep, you hand out a pamphlet that says everything that you're for, and then as soon as you get in there and you take a position, then all of a sudden a vote comes up and you go, what the that's not what you told me.
You hit it on the nail. Hit it on the nail.
And then it's like, oh, well, I got to get along with everybody. No, dude. That's not why I voted for you. I voted for you because me and you saw the same values. Me and you saw eye to eye on this stuff. You can be honest. Obviously, I'm a Republican. Like, it's very obvious. But I have voted for Democrats in the past.
Absolutely.
Because they beat out. In fact, this last election, I voted for a Democrat over a Republican. Not for the presidential side of things, but
your voice.
But it was somebody who was running. It was for Senate or something like that, and I remembered that dude. And I looked at it and I said, that guy was for one of my brothers had to leave and move to another state based on the COVID-19 vaccine, because it was like, you have to have this to work here. And he couldn't find a job and he had to leave somewhere else. And part of the reason why is because that representative that I had voted for in the past has sat there and agreed with all this stuff. And the Democrat nominee that was behind that was like, no, dude, your body, your choice. If you don't want to put that in your body, you don't have to do it. And I'm like, and dude, it went against everything that I stood for, but I was like, nope, that dude screwed up that day, and that is why I'm going to vote for that person. I vote for the right person.
Right.
I don't just vote
because of party.
Because of party affiliation. I vote for the person that I think I see fit, being that way. With all that coming around, though, and I know you know what I'm talking about, because
Absolutely.
there were several. Anybody who runs for office, and I look at them, I talk to them, I know that they've sat somewhere before, either in front of a microphone, on somebody's doorstep, where it's like, all right, I have to be honest about this, but I'm going to kind of hold back a little bit. And it was like, no, if If you're not, I do want to get your take, because the Marina Civic Center was a big thing that was going on then, and obviously they've made the choices now.
Right, it's a done deal.
Yeah. What were your stances on that though to begin with?
Yeah, so I said it then, I'll say it now. My stance was to remodel the Civic Center, right? While the Civic Center itself wasn't in a ward that I was running for, the fact that it was a staple in the community and talking to people, right? Because I think going back a little bit of what you were saying earlier, that people knock on your door, they tell you what you want to hear, then they get in the position and forget everything that you said to them. It was people were saying they wanted to hold on to the Civic Center more so than tearing it down. And so my whole complete part of that, or talking points on that, was let's save it. And I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, it wasn't the hurricane that did all that damage to the Civic Center. You used tax dollars to prove that it was the hurricane, and in the end, we lost out. We lost tax dollars, and we lost the Civic Center. Now, we can't go back. They've already demolished it, and they're looking at making an amphitheater there. So
it was going to cost, like, so I don't live in Panama City,
right?
But I mean, I hear stuff. Obviously, I have people that come on the show. I have some people that are lined up, and they're probably going to come on and talk about this. But just so I have a better knowledge of this, because I know you're probably going to know more about it than me. The Civic Center, it was going to cost more money to refurbish it than if we were to build another one, though.
That's what they say.
That's what they said. How does that assessment? How's that made, and how did they come up with that number and all that? Do you know? Or
well, my understanding of that whole process was that whole refurbishing of it was after the damage was made to prove that it was damaged by Hurricane Michael. So had we not gone through that whole let's prove to FEMA to give more money, if we would have looked at the building, took the money that FEMA gave the city and said, hey, this is all they're giving us, let's try to refurbish it, get grants, it would have probably been a lot cheaper than after you've destroyed it, now that you don't have the money, to where it would cost too much.
So okay, so you said a couple times now that Hurricane Michael, not all the damage was caused by Hurricane Michael.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the leadership then hired a team to come in and simulate Hurricane Michael. So they brought in water, wind, all this other stuff, and recorded it so that they could appeal FEMA's decision.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you didn't hear about all that, honey? Yes.
Hey, listen, I'm stupid when it comes to the internet. I've been hitting the head a lot. But okay. So hold on.
Okay.
This was before Hurricane Michael?
This was after Hurricane Michael. So Hurricane Michael hit
into the Civic Center, and you're saying that they staged it
as if it was Hurricane Michael, got the wind speed and water
on the inside,
in the inside, yes, and they simulated Hurricane Michael to prove to FEMA, hey, look, we need more money. And so again, I'm on the outside. These are just reports and things that I've seen that, of course, it caused damage, right?
Yeah.
But FEMA was like, no, this isn't what Hurricane Michael caused, and the city of Panama City lost the appeal. So now, of course, with the extra damage from trying to prove that it was Hurricane Michael, on top of the damage that did actually happen from Hurricane Michael, it would absolutely be too expensive to rebuild, right? Because you don't have the money you wanted to get from FEMA, and then the money you did get from FEMA got used for the simulation. So here we are. No Civic Center.
Yeah, nobody has said that. I've never heard that.
Oops, my bad. And I jokingly say that it's been several city commissioner meetings where this has gone back and forth. People were hurt by the fact that so much money was spent on the simulation. People love the Civic Center. Now, again, I can say if I would have won, I would have fought for the Civic Center to be rebuilt somehow, along with the current sitting commissioner, Commissioner Granger.
They had spent all that time. How long did it take FEMA to finally recognize it as a Cat 5? It took a long time.
It took a while.
It took
a long time.
And so they used the Civic Center for that.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh.
And FEMA was like, nah.
And the Civic Center needs to be. So after they did all that damage, so that damage still led it to be more money to refurbish than to rebuild?
So all of the options that the city presented to citizens was that it was always way more expensive to rebuild than to tear down. The push to keep it was the thought that they would get funding from private foundations in the arts community to help in that cost. Because again, the money that FEMA gave them were spent already. And FEMA wasn't willing to give the city what they thought they were supposed to get. So there was no money, no foundation. Let's just tear it down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
And for the record, Ron, I am all in favor for an amphitheater, right? I personally was okay if they would have tore it down, but the citizens wanted it.
Give me 1 second. Hey, Kendall, can you look up any articles that you can find maybe on the News Herald to bring that up? Just on...
City Commissioner meetings, News Herald, WMBB.
Yeah, just anything on Hurricane Michael. I don't know what we would look for
You can
exactly.
look for Civic Center simulation for FEMA dollars or...
Yeah,
that definitely should pull it up.
Yeah.
Because several articles was was discussed about that.
So you said that you're all for a
amphitheater.
Amphitheater.
It happened in 2021 is what I'm seeing.
After Hurricane Michael, FEMA only gave them so many millions, and our leadership at the time said, no, we want more. And so the money we got from FEMA was basically spent on consultants, simulation, to prove that they needed more money. All they proved was that we're going to damage it more.
Was there any video footage of what they did on the inside? Do you know?
I don't believe there was any video footage.
I'm looking for it.
Okay. I know there was some people that was there that came out and talked about it and was like, this Civic Center isn't damaged as bad as we thought it was.
Was the amphitheater being talked about then when you were running, or was that something that kind of came up after? I think
Well, actually,
after, right?
Actually, it was during and a little before, because once it was noted that FEMA wasn't going to give this, the city any money, it was like, well, what do we do? And so I know a couple of commissioners did some research, and they saw in other cities that amphitheaters worked. St. Augustine, somewhere in Colorado, what is it, Red Rock, I think, that they have an amphitheater that's outside. And so more recently, two of our commissioners met with a developing company that has built successful amphitheaters in Macon and in Pensacola. And so they're looking to connect so we can build one here. And the questions that they submitted to the community was, do you want a small one or a large one?
Yeah.
And so that's where they are today in regards to that.
Just for some numbers, FEMA determined it was 43% damaged, and the city was fighting to get it at 58. So they were fighting and caused all this over 15% of damage.
So they were fighting over 15% of damage.
That's it. And the whole beloved Civic Center is gone because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was probably a money thing.
Yeah.
More than
Absolutely. When is it not about money?
And the test cost $144,000.
So the test was $144,000.
Mm-hmm. And then the consultants to run the test, there's another amount for that.
Yeah.
And then the lawyers to fight FEMA because it had to go to court.
Yeah,
so,
this was all a big a way of... And I mean, listen, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially when it comes to anything. I mean, I don't try to point the finger at anybody and be like, "Oh, yeah, you're a corrupt mother." I don't do that. But
even if they are,
yeah. Well, like again, and it's like do my research on it. I'll come up with my own thing. I think Brudnicki was the mayor there. I kind of know him. I worked for him for a while. He seemed like an okay guy. I don't have a major issue with him. I know Doc's in there now. He's planning on running. I had Alan Branch on the show.
Cool dude.
Alan is planning. Well, no, Alan is running.
Is running. Yes,
he is running.
Met with him last night.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Alan, super great guy. Dude, that guy bought me. Like, I think I've told several people this. He came to do the podcast, and he knew, well, we had done a beer. Me and one of my buddies, veteran buddy of mine, we did a podcast where we tasted all the beers from all the local breweries.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And so it was hilarious because Alan watched that podcast before he came on. So when he showed up, he had like $100 worth of beer with him from history class.
I should have been on that podcast.
Yeah, he shows up and he's like, "Here you go." And then I was like, "Okay." And I was gonna crack one open. He's like, "No, I'm good. That's for you and your family and everything."
Oh,
and
that's
like,
nice. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Like him. One of the things that we talked about though, so we talked about the Civic Center very briefly, but we talked about Beach Drive.
Okay.
Was Beach Drive going on?
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we talked about that. Where did you stand with that?
So that was a tough one because running and because a lot of the polls and surveys wasn't necessarily city ran, you didn't have access to the data. So the few people that you did have the opportunity to talk to, sometimes it wasn't actually fair data, right? And so I met people who was for, people who were against it. And my stance on that is whichever number is the highest is where I'm going to be, right? If more people are for it, then I'm for it. If more people are against it, then that's where I'm going to stand. As of today, there's no real update. It's kind of gone dormant. People don't really talk about it. I think they're still fighting between if the city owns the road or the state owns the road and the funding, where they're going to use it or if they can have it repurposed. But on every issue, Ron, it was more so, what does the citizens want, right? I have an opinion, right? My voice, my vote, right? Yeah. And so the main thing, going back to something you said earlier about being a commissioner, rather a county or a city, is that you knock on people's doors, you tell them what they want to hear, then you get in that seat and it's, I got to give and take. I got to do what this person wants so they can give me what I want on 3 votes on another issue. And that's ludicrous because you know what you need to fight for your ward. You know what the people wanted. Because when you knocked on their doors, you promised X, Y, Z. Now, maybe sometimes you can't give it because it's just not in the vote count, right? 5-1, it's not in your favor. But one of the things I'll say about the mayor, Doc Rohan, everything that he said he was for during his election, he has stood 10 toes down on that podium. Beach Drive, the Civic Center, the marinas, it never changed. Now, he may not have won the vote because there's for the people. The city of Panama City has a weak mayor system, but I admire that, right? That, wow, he did what he said he was going to do. Rather win or lose, he did what he said he was going to do. And I don't see that often.
Yeah.
I don't see that. People get swayed and swooed once they get in that position to get what they want. And not to be controversial, it's not even just what they want in a vote, it's what they could individually gain in some cases. I met Greg, had a relationship with him, trying to get things done before I even ran, because again, I was never going to run. It was, what can I do to help, right? So meeting the mayor, meeting all the commissioners, it's like, hey, let me know how I can help. And I joined various advisory boards just to do my part. But yeah, it's more so what does the citizens want, not what I want. And that's what happens a lot.
Yeah, you work with a lot of different groups, I noticed. And, one of the groups where I had met you outside of politics was at the veterans.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So, yes, I'm an Army veteran. And in my personal field, in healthcare and being in the community, I've met a lot of veterans run. And I mean, Iraq veterans, Vietnam veterans. And when we're having these conversations, and I'm like, you didn't know about this? You didn't know about that? And they're like, no, never heard of that. I don't even have VA healthcare benefits. And it's like, what do you mean? And we've had these conversations before. And it was heartbreaking.
Yeah. One of the, actually, Kendall was, or maybe it was Daniel. I can't remember. One of the two. My buddies.
It was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that emergency room visit. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even know about that. He's just like, he had VA. He had an emergency room visit out in Colorado. His gallbladder. Was it your gallbladder?
Yeah.
Yeah, gallbladder. Had one of those issues, gallstones or whatever, need to be removed, emergency surgery, because that's actually
life-threatening.
It can be life-threatening.
Yeah.
And he got done, and he was just like, I was on the phone with him, and I was like, man, you need me to come out there? Like, I'll come out there. He's like, yeah. And he said, he goes, I don't even want to know how much this bill is going to cost from the hospital, because he had stayed there for a couple of days, and they did the surgery and everything. I was like, whoa, no, you call the VA. Because they cover that for you as long as you let them know within 24 hours of you visiting the hospital. He's like, what? I was like, yeah. He goes, nah, I'll give it a shot, whatever. He called and he's like, dang, man, you were right. If I would have never known that, I would have been paying on it, And so there are some things that, that veterans...
Well, there's that, and then they sent me a letter, like how you get a insurance invoice, and they said, if you are contacted by the hospital, call this hotline. They are not to contact you to try and collect. They are to go through us, and they are not getting a dime. Yeah. So I really appreciated it.
Yeah. And those are some of the things, I have mixed feelings about some things with veterans benefits, who get them, who doesn't get them. Obviously, I'm not for, somebody who went to basic training and just quit and was like, and now they get benefits the rest of their life. Not for that. Like, I believe that you had to serve our veterans that have raised the right hand, and they said, hey, I'll go where the nation wants me to go and do what needs to be done. No, they do need to be taken care of, because that's a huge thing to do. Is, I joined during wartime. A lot of people did. A lot of people have. Obviously, we're not at war now. Not technically.
Because we're always at war.
Yeah, we're always fighting with somebody. But no, I think that's important. And so you doing that, being part of that to be able to educate guys who are coming out of the military. I know when I went to one of the events, there was a dude that was there at the table that I was sitting at. And he was just lost in the sauce. Did not know anything. Like, where is the local VA clinic? It was like, oh, it's on the beach. Oh, okay, where's the beach? Like, it's like, because I just moved here, relocated type thing, and then that still hasn't been enrolled in any VA anything. And so the fact that you do that and help out the community in that's a huge deal for veterans, because one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is a lot of times these guys, when they join the military, and, I know you understand what I'm about to say, but it's like 17, 18 years old. You graduate from high school. You go in the military. You stay in the military for 4 years, 8 years, 6 years, whatever it may be. Let's say you got an honorable discharge or you got medically discharged, whatever. You have been subjected to a lifestyle where everything is structured from 4 a.m. in the morning all the way to pretty much 6 o'clock in the evening. Yep. Everybody goes to the same place to get food. Everybody goes to the same place to get a haircut. Everybody walks the same, talks the same. Wears the
dress
same clothes,
the same.
dress the same way, and anytime you need to go somewhere in the military, you always have a battle buddy to reach over and go, "Hey, where are we going? What are we doing?" Like, and then if they don't know, there's a battle buddy next to them, and then everybody works together as this team, and then you get thrown back out into the civilian world, and it's like, okay. If I go to the hospital, what do I need? I got to have what with me? Insurance. Ooh, I don't have insurance. Where do I go pay my electric bill? How do I get my water turned on? Yeah. How do I... and a lot of people and civilians, I'll say it, civilians that have never served in the military a day in your life, you're privileged as a mother.
Absolutely.
Because the guys that have served this nation... now, I'm a little bit of a different breed, because I joined the military after I was already... I'd been selling cars for a long time, and I was 26 when I went in. So it was like, I knew how all that stuff worked.
Right.
So, but when I got out and I see guys that I'm just like, no, man, like, call me.
Right.
I will drive you to where you need to go, type thing. And so the fact that you're running a program that's kind of getting people connected in that way, where people aren't alone, they have a battle buddy.
Right.
They have an accountability partner, to be able to say, like, all right, I need help with this because I just don't know. It's huge.
Yes.
Because, I mean, obviously, veteran suicide's a huge thing. 22 on average a day
Yep.
pass away. And I think, I said this when I was running for office, and I'll say it again. One of the things, a lot of people like to talk about what I just said when it comes to veterans, where it's like a lot of these guys commit suicide because they don't have any direction. They don't know where to go. They don't know wherever. There's another side of that. There's the judgmental side of that, where people don't understand that. You're a veteran, you come out of the military, you've put in service to this country, and you go get electric turned on somewhere, and you go to a desk, and then it's, well, I'm going to point you to a kiosk, and then that kiosk is going to point you to go do this and go do that and all that, and then you got to deal with somebody that treats you like dog shit.
Yep.
And then you're just like,
I'm over it.
Yeah, or you guy, like, I've got, I can't, like, when I was running for office, it was like one of those things, and it's very, very small. But, there's a lady that, my tattoos, I was like, she goes, you need to cover those up.
Wow.
She flat out said to me at an event, and I was like, why should I cover up my tattoos? It was fine when I was slinging lead down range for your freedom. It's not okay now?
Right.
It's just like the language, how I talk. Everyone, look, man, I'm going to use some language, some profanity every once in a while. Oh, it was fine for you when, we were sitting there training to take out ISIS.
Right.
And bring but all of a sudden I let one slip, and I'm
don't
a
do
bad
that.
guy now.
Right.
And it's like, and then they're the same people that sit there and talk about how, oh, my grandson's going to join the military and blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something.
He's going to be cussing and talking shit. And he's going to have a lot of tattoos, Nana.
But the military, the military is a vital part of the community, because I feel like more veterans nowadays hold people accountable more than the civilians that we have. That's the reason why. And I was talking to a representative from Lynn Haven not too long ago on the phone, and he told me this guy was actually he was kind of in an emotional state because of some things that were going on, and I never forget what he said. He goes, "We have got to get more veterans in office."
Yes.
Because veterans are the only people that understand accountability. They're the only ones that understand that when you do something wrong, you're punished and privilege is taken away. When you do something right, that's what you are freaking supposed to do to begin with, and you don't get praise for it.
You don't get a pat on the back.
You don't get a pat on the back on it. You don't. That's, and a lot of these guys, and I'm rambling, but a lot of these guys who get into office nowadays, it's a popularity contest, and it's for some sort of status in the community, and they're not doing it for selfless service.
Right.
They do it because, ooh, look at me. I'm going to be in the paper. I'm going to be on WJHG, WMBB.
Oh, my name's on a building now.
Yep. And then you sit there and you're going to do that, but you're not understanding the sacrifice that you need to be taken for your common citizen that's around you. So that's my little piece on it. I think it's great what you're doing with the veterans.
Well, thank you.
Name it for the listener, and also how they can contact and when your meetings are and everything like that.
Yes, so the program we started here is actually a program that started in Massachusetts out of the VA, and it's called Voices. Veterans Outreach in the Community, Engaging Citizens or Service Members, basically. It's an opportunity to get veterans together, learn about what's available. What's crazy is I'm a veteran, a disabled veteran. I get emails all day from VA, right? So I know what's going on before I even go talk to a VSO. I'm reading the articles. I'm keeping myself up to date and meeting people who have no idea. Now, going back to what you were saying, a lot of times the veterans, they deal with people judging them. One of the things that I've recognized is veterans judging themselves, right? Feeling bad because they don't know, right? Because when you're a veteran, you're supposed to have a certain status, a certain knowledge base. And so you come out into the civilian world and people treat you differently. Let's be honest. It's like, oh, you're a veteran. Thank you for your service. They have no idea what your service was, right? They don't know that you watched your body bottle blow up beside you, right? They don't know the assault that you might have experienced while you were on your own military base.
Yeah.
And so veterans judge themselves. And so in judging themselves, that's why we have 22 veterans that take their own life every day. That's why we have veterans who have no idea what their VA benefits are to go to a hospital. One of the toughest things that I've had to deal with in this program is meeting Vietnam veterans who have never enrolled in VA healthcare, who've never filed a claim. Yeah. I met a gentleman in a treatment that I have for this medical condition. He's a Vietnam vet, and he's had Agent Orange twice. And he was sharing with me that he's finally going to the VSO because the medical bills had just gotten too expensive. I said, so besides filing a claim, have you not utilized your VA benefits? He's retired, right? He utilized his retirement CHAMP benefits, of course, but never his VA benefits. And so he was like, well, I just didn't think I needed them.
Yeah.
What? You're a Vietnam vet, dude.
Yeah,
like
what I think is crazy about that is like Vietnam veterans deserve
everything
way more than
anyone else.
Well, and the reason why, and to those who don't know, it's like these guys were drafted, and it was the most bloody. We lost so many people.
We lost so many people,
and that's the reason I always laugh, because me and most combat MOS guys, me and my brother both served in combat arms, so we kind of make the joke about people that we hear talk about stuff every once in a while, because like we're like, oh, I got ankle problems, I got knee problems, I got back problems. Well, you joined a combat MOS. What did you think was going to happen? Like you were going to ruck, you were going to run, you were going to slam your body on the ground multiple times a day for a couple years. You're going to be sore. So it's like one of those, like we run into people, and the people that we hear complain the most are people that didn't sign up for a job up like that. And so we sit there and we'll be like, pogue, and kind of like make fun of them.
Making fun of each other.
Yeah, we're making fun of them. And then, but we have to, we do have the realistic way of looking at it. Where it's like, that person really didn't sign up to go to Afghanistan and do what they did. Now they're in the military, so first and foremost, you're a rifleman. So, but at the same time, a lot of the people. There's somebody that serves in the military today that didn't have a choice. That office is open to everybody. But back in Vietnam, there was no choice.
Nope.
And so that's why the Vietnam veterans, to me, is the most important, because nobody was going to high schools back then and going, hey, choose your branch. No, it was you graduated, you're 18 years old, you're on a bus, you're going to Montgomery, and we're going to choose where you're going.
Yep.
And you don't have a freaking choice. I mean, obviously they have selective service or whatever, but the point was you missed that deadline. Oh, you wanted to join the Navy? You should have done that a month ago. You're in the Army today.
Yep.
And then that's what happened during Vietnam. And then you were given a gun, and I think didn't we look this up not too long ago, Kendall, that there was like several classes that it was like basic training was like 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, you showed up to Montgomery, and now you're in the jungle of Vietnam.
Yep.
With an M16. And today, 22-week. With how we have evolved into combat now, our regular infantry guys would have been kicking butts, from back in the day, just because of how combat and tactics have changed.
Yeah.
And so to have somebody now that's like 22-week cycle, we have, it almost is kind of like I've seen some videos here recently that would prove me wrong on this, but like what we have now is a completely different soldier than what we were creating back then.
We have to change and adapt
and evolve. But it's just Vietnam veterans, they deserve everything, and I think they probably witnessed
hell of a lot more than anyone else. And they didn't have anyone when they came home that said, hey, here's a TAPS program, right? They were like, thank you for your service, now figure it out.
No, they're guys were coming home from Vietnam. They were being spit on because when I was going through OSET, we had a drill sergeant, and I guess it was his grandfather was a Vietnam veteran. And I remember him sitting down while we were cleaning our rifles one night, and he told us a story about his grandfather coming back from Vietnam, and how his grandfather was treated, where it was very, very obvious that he came home from the army. Difficult to find a job.
Yep.
Because it's a small town, everybody knew what he did, and people were kind of like
probably nervous,
scared about him, because like that was happening a lot back then. That's something that's not talked about, like from the 60s and 70s with these guys coming home from Vietnam. It wasn't like people today, they talk about having PTSD and stuff like that. No, guys that were coming back from the jungle where they were
truly
sleep
suffering.
Deprived. They lost their minds in the jungle. Like, I mean, they
addicted to drugs, and not by
Yeah.
just choice.
Yeah.
It was by survival,
Yeah.
right? To survive in that jungle, when you just said, wait a minute, I graduate high school today, the next day I'm in Montgomery, and then 6 weeks later I'm in the jungle and I'm being told just shoot the enemy.
Yeah.
Right? And
With
it's
zero
like
training.
with zero
And
training.
that's not taking away from the military and what we do today.
Right.
Not at all. That's not what I mean by that. But what I mean is like it's that is not talked about enough. It's like these guys were coming. So so people were hesitant to hire veterans, and there's a huge drug epidemic that was going on then. Obviously, marijuana was big. Opium was huge.
Heroin, all of it.
Yeah. And then so now you got guys coming home from war, they're drug addicts. And then it's like nobody wanted to hire a veteran. Not really. I mean, you had to be a squared away dude that came home that was doing pretty decent to be able to just pick up where you left off.
Right.
And who was picking up where they were left off? Because where you left off was being 18 years old and just graduating high school.
Didn't even know yourself.
So there is no picking up where you left off. It was, basically getting your brand new start. And to do that to the mind of an 18-year-old, to watch death and destruction and stuff like that daily for years. And now you come home and, man, dude, like I said, Vietnam veterans, that's a pretty crazy
And I
thing.
love serving them. I love seeing that veteran say, hey, Michelle, I got my VA benefits now. Hey, Michelle, or a widow of a Vietnam veteran, I finally get my benefits to be able to help myself develop past their losing of their loved one. Shout out to the VSO we have here in Bay County. You said earlier, where is it located? I don't know if you were joking, but it's at the Bay County building. You know where it is, right? Okay. I'm so used to telling people where it is. It's a habit. And so it's a pleasure. And I also feel like it's my duty, right? Because as you mentioned, when we were in the military, it wasn't about race. It wasn't about party. It wasn't about MOS. You had to look out for your battle buddy. You had to look out for one another.
Yeah, there's a lot of veterans too, and I kind of was one of them, and I've met several since where they don't think that they did enough to be able to receive their veterans. That is actually a thing, because I know I got out, pretty bad injury, really bad injury. I had to have several surgeries, and but I remember I came back home and I was like, I'm not applying for any type of whatever. I don't need it or whatever. And then
You're okay.
I'm okay. I'm going to be able to pick up where I left off. I had a sales career and all of that. And then it was I was working for a defense contractor, and then somebody was like, "Nah, man, go see this person." And I went up there to the Bay County office, talked to Mr. Butler.
Yes.
And,
Shout out to Mr. Butler.
Yeah, he ended up,
Fabulous guy.
he was like, "Oh yeah, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong," and he put in my first claim and did everything for me. I didn't have to do a damn thing, and that's the other thing that's kind of crazy. If veterans, a lot of people, we were in the military for so long, we know everything's a process and it takes a long time. Now the VA still takes a long freaking time, but the thing is we have services that are available to us that. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is just do what they ask you to give you. And so, and then they pretty much do it all for you. And yeah, we do have that, and it is an amazing thing. And yeah, there's a lot of people, hospital bills, they break you alone. I mean, just like he was talking about, having a surgery, being in the hospital for a couple of days. That right there, I mean, that's a $60,000 to $80,000 hospital visit. Yep. And then now, was it half a mil?
And was that including drugs or no drugs? Because that makes a difference too.
Drugs and anesthesia were $20K, but it was the room, the stay overnights mostly, and the hospital or the ambulance ride.
Yeah, so you're talking about $500,000, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, I would have to pay that." And it's like, you didn't go and freaking You didn't go and say that you were going to go die for everybody.
Right. You didn't sign your life on the dotted line.
Like, hey, listen, before 33, get your ass up there to the go raise your right hand.
Yep, you can do it too.
Go do a contract. There you go, man. You'll be in the club.
You can join in the best side.
But no, yeah. But yeah, there are a lot of people that kind of feel guilty about going to go do it because like, well, I didn't do anything. And I think the best way that was explained to me was I'd come in, I had been set up with a percentage, and so one of my buddies was like, "Oh yeah, you need to go for a higher percentage," and I was like, "Well, I'm pretty much covered." The only thing that they didn't do was, and at the time it was my lower back, it was my lumbar, and I had a bad issue with that going through jump school at Fort Benning, and I had
your MOS alone.
Yeah. And so I was like, man, my lower back. And my buddy was like, go and get that reevaluated. Go and get that done. I was like, man, I'm happy with where I'm at or whatever. And so he goes, nah, man, don't let them slide on that. Go get that taken care of. And I said to him, I was like, there's a guy that just got back from Iraq. He's got no legs. I said, and he doesn't even have 10%, or he got 10%.
Wow. No way.
And I said, so no, I'm not going to go do that when there's guys that are coming back. I already got a higher percentage than him. And he looked at me. I'll never get it. He looks at me and goes, what's stopping him? And I went, and he told me, he goes, listen, man, the VA has enough money to be paying out pretty much anybody who comes out at 100%. He said, go get it.
Get your stupid ass up.
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, and when I looked at it that way, I was like, I guess that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, what's stopping him?
Right.
Because I know a guy that was in the Air Force who was sitting at a desk for so long who got 100% because he literally said, I have tummy issues. Wow. And I'm going, those are the types of things that were making me mad back then, where it was like, well, maybe there is something wrong with the MREs that they put in us. Like,
well, the Air Force didn't eat MREs. They had the fancy meals.
Oh, yeah.
They had the Grey Poupon.
Oh, no, they got some food poisoning from the Hyatt that they were staying at.
Right.
All in good fun. But no, okay, cool. Yeah, so you do the VA thing. I think that's a great... What else are you doing in the community?
So one of the biggest things that I started an organization called PC Senior Living Group. And not only were veterans being left behind, our seniors were being left behind. After Hurricane Michael, can you imagine being 70, 80 years old, living by yourself, being expected to navigate through your insurance policies, navigate through COVID, and should I get the shot, should I not get the shot, navigating through just life by yourself. So again, with my healthcare experience, being in the community, I met so many seniors that were like, hey, I want to get out, I want to be informed, I want to do my part in the community. And so we started an organization where active older adults meet up. We have a hot meal. We educate them about politics, education, life, community. They volunteer in the community. So it's an opportunity to get people who would otherwise be home alone an opportunity to come out and give back to the community while extending their life expectancy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Yes. We had our Thanksgiving dinner today. Shout out to PC Senior Living Group.
Yeah. No, that's good too. Okay, so what are the big plans for you in the future? If you're not going to be running, I mean, you might
just keep throwing
you're
that
probably
in
going to be. You're probably going to change your mind. I know you probably will eventually. But are there any big plans that you do have? Maybe obviously politics might not be it, but you got goals.
I do have goals. I'm a loving grandmother. I have a 1-year-old grandson, so I'm living life as a nana, not a grandma. I ain't there yet. I continue to find ways to continue to educate veterans, because even though we have our monthly meeting at the Glenwood Community Center, and we'll be starting Voices back up in January, we took the holiday break, we're not reaching enough people. There's still a lot of people out there that just don't know what is out there for them and or where to go. Yes, we have the VSO office at the Bay County building, but as I mentioned earlier about self, a lot of them, as you mentioned about yourself, it's like, I wasn't heard enough. I didn't serve in Iraq. I didn't serve in Vietnam. So while I got hurt, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to work and manage life on my own. And when you have that disconnect from the civilian world, from the military world, sometimes it's a little lonely.
Yeah.
You may have a spouse and family, but if they haven't served, they have no idea what you went through. Yeah. You have no one to talk to. So you self-inflict, whatever that might be. You internalize a lot of things. And so you don't even think about the VA. And so we're right now just gauging ways to expand our services to reach more people. So that's something that's in my future. I'm going to go back to politics. I will continue to be an agitator. And what I mean by that is do the right thing.
Yeah.
Stop all the bullshit. Just do the right thing by all people. Remove titles, remove political party. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, none of the above. Do what's right for the people.
Yeah.
The taxpayers are who politicians work for.
Yep.
And we've got to get back to that. Going back to, will I ever run again? I don't know. I actually enjoy meeting people. I met you. I met other people who have now thought about running. And it's not only refreshing to meet people who view wanting to be the change, it's refreshing to realizing that, you know what, you're actually a part of the change, because you've done not only being less than the 1% that joined the military, it's even less than that, the people that actually say, I'm going to run for office.
Yeah. No, that's a lot less.
Right? It's a lot less. So to be in that
0.00.
company that we're in, right, especially here in Bay County, 0.0001.
Yeah.
We're in a special group, Ron. We've served in the military and we've ran for office. And so we need more people to hear our story. We need more people to get out there and run and be the voice of people.
Yeah.
Right? Because people aren't accountable today. And with the background of being in the military, there's a level of accountability that we'll never be able to get rid of.
Yeah, and well, there's a lot of people that are never going to understand it either, including the people who sit in the seats that they sit in. Like,
I'm not going to say no name.
It's one of those. It's disheartening in a way. It's also, like I said it. I had Brian Cloudus on.
Oh, cool dude.
Yeah, and
I met him a couple of times. He came and spoke with us.
Yeah, one of the things that I had said to him, it might have gotten edited out, but I was like, man, just naturally. The reason why I have no intentions of ever running again.
Really?
I don't. And the reason why is because it's that situational awareness. Mm-hmm. People don't pay attention. Mm-hmm. I learned from my race, that's the reason why I was like, I think I got 16%. Tommy got, I don't remember, 30-something%, and then Daniel got 40-something%, 48% or something like that. And I learned, I learned in that election that at least 60% of the population who talk, especially here in Bay County, who talk like, the redneck badasses that own all these weapons, in an actual combat situation, you'll get killed. Yeah, because you have no clue. You do not pay attention.
Right.
You don't pay attention to anything that goes on around you. Here's the other. This is the bad part about it. You have all the resources to be on top of your shit,
Bingo.
and you chose not to. Mm-hmm. And now that's 60% of the people that voted.
Right. That voted.
That's 60% of the people that voted. So the people that actually didn't vote. I mean, I don't know how big that. I don't know how big that pop. But the reason why I say that is you had everything out in front of you, and people sit there and we live in this society where we sit there and we try to talk about ethics, like we're all ethical.
Yeah, we're good people.
We have this ethical principle to blah 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 blah.
And we have this committee.
It's like cool, and then like I'll pull up a clip And I go, let's see this, because this person clearly just said they don't care and they're going to give out backdoor deals for their friends.
Build housing.
And use your tax dollars to do it. And you chose to. So the reason why at this moment and this junction that I have no intention is because none of those people deserve my time.
Right.
Why in the hell would I want to represent? And it's even worse when you're a veteran.
That's deep, Ron. That's deep.
It's even worse when you're a veteran, because I get to go, I got 3 buddies that I will never see again.
Right.
They f***ing died for your freedom. And right now I'm looking at you and going, you weren't worth a damn one of them. You weren't worth it because you don't pay attention.
And you don't care.
Yeah, and you
actually.
live here. It's not like, and you could play the whole, well, I go to work every day and I don't have enough time. Shut up.
Yep. Shut the up.
Shut up, man. You weren't in Iraq last night or Afghanistan getting shot at.
Yep,
You just
you
woke
have
up
no
this morning
excuse.
and you didn't. You woke up this morning and you went out to your coffee maker and you had a damn computer in front of you the entire time and you didn't choose to look at a damn thing. And it's just like, dude, so no. When the reason why I say I will probably never run again, I'm not going to say Brian Cloudis made me promise that I would never say never.
Right.
Because he's like, you don't know.
You don't
10
know.
years from now, you might actually. So I'm not going to say never. But at this point in time, there's not a single person that has proven themselves to where you deserve my time.
Right.
And again, it's disheartening as a veteran if we're going to play that route to go, hey, man, like, I've lost friends. And to see that this is how the community actually pays attention to what goes on around them, it's sad.
That's deep. You just opened my eyes to some things that I hadn't. So maybe I will never run again. No, seriously, because let's even move out the veteran piece, right? Let's look at, I can speak for my race. And I know a lot about yours because I followed your race too, is that I actually had a platform. Like, these are things that I wanted to do. I had statistics and facts, you guys. I said, this is what needs to happen. And nothing against my opponent, but all they said was their name. And they were a native. That was literally their entire platform.
Yeah. Well.
And it was like, are you guys paying attention to this?
Well, both the guys that, Tommy and Daniel didn't disagree on anything. They got along on everything. And at the Kiwanis luncheon, I've got the video.
I watched that video.
We got the video footage from it. Daniel literally said, he goes, I pretty much agree with everything that Tommy has done over the past 8 years. I just don't like how he's gotten his personal life involved with the county.
Politics.
And Tommy, and I know Tommy a lot better now than what I did at the beginning of the race. Daniel's the exact same person he was when we sold cars together.
Wow, you guys go back then.
2011. 2011. And we weren't. There's a story there, but
I got time.
Yeah, well, he said no, like Daniel. Let me tell you something. That dude's a hard worker. When I worked at the car lot, dude was pretty much, he always was sunburnt from his sunglasses. He always had raccoon glasses, which means he's out on the lot. He's selling cars. He sold a lot of cars, though, based on his name. But hey, that doesn't mean you don't work.
Right.
Dude worked. When I saw him walking, I mean, he was sweating. I mean, he was always working. He's
a work ethic.
Yeah. He did, and I think he still does now. I don't know. I don't follow him around anymore. But back in the day, I tried to compete with him. Obviously, I was never going to be able to compete with him. But he sold a lot of cars, man. The dude, I mean, he would be up there till 7, 8 o'clock at night selling cars. He'd be there at freaking 8 in the morning. And the dude has a work ethic. Tommy, though, getting to know him, dude is he's not the person that I thought he was before I ran. He's completely different than what I thought he was. I thought when I jumped into my race, I thought Tommy was this good old boy who got along with everybody and just kind of went with the flow and you know, voted with everybody just to get stuff done. And then after I had been around him a couple times, especially in those forums, and saw how he conducted himself, saw that he was human, he bleeds just like a man, I found out kind of quick that he's not the guy that I thought he was. There actually is a lot of humility in Tommy because he's not. I've never seen that dude, and I was in 4 or 5 forums debates with him. I never saw an arrogant side of him. I never did. But me and Daniel were a lot younger. So we've got that fire. Daniel thinks he's got it. He's just never seen me with an M4. That's the problem there. That's what was funny. So one of the guys I go to jiu-jitsu with, he says, you should have just looked at him in front of everybody and like, let's roll. Like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that smirk. You keep smirking at me, and I was just like, and I would
hold your arms together, close them tight.
I would never do that to a civilian. I would never do that. But anyway, it was one of those like kind of the running joke in my group of friends.
Right.
I was like, get him on the mat. I was like, no, dude.
Let's go live.
But getting back
pay-per-view.
Getting back to that, no, like so I had both these guys that I was running against, and both of them agreed on everything. And then it was just kind of like, why are you? There was only one thing that they didn't agree on, and that was at the Kiwanis luncheon where we were asked about traffic light cameras. About tickets that can be
without police presence, right? Yeah.
It was
it's
about
just
that.
a camera that flashes.
Daniel said that
and it could make mistakes.
He would be okay with it. He said that he was okay with it. He was like, as long as it doesn't impede on your rights, then I'm for those traffic cameras. And so I was the one that was like, yeah, that's impeding on your rights.
So no.
The Fourth Amendment. I think it's the Fourth Amendment. Yeah, right to spy on the American people. Yeah, dude, you need to go back to grade school, learn your amendments over again, learn the Constitution, then come back and try again. But again, these were mistakes that were made that are huge things that come up at the county level. Yep. And it's like, oh, he's done. That's it. You're out. There's no coming back from that. And again, just like everybody was all up Jay Trumbull's ass for like the longest time, they freaking voted him in. And I knew Jay, played baseball against him back at R.L. Turner.
You went way back.
Jay Trumbull, yeah, we went to high school together.
Oh, wow.
We were in a prayer group together. First priority at Bay High, and I knew his wife too.
With me and my
super
opponent,
cool,
huge age gap.
Super great dude, super great guy. Family are great people. When he voted for red flag laws, who the do you think you are? That's something you do not touch. Period. No ifs, ands, buts. Don't give a shit who you're talking to in Tallahassee. You don't do it. Period. You want to hear a veteran? Talk about it? I got some shit that I could, dude. I would ear you so bad, you would immediately give up your seat and never be in politics again. If you did not go home thinking that you were spitting on the graves of my dead brothers, you're a piece of shit. You're going to sit there and try to take away the Second Amendment right. There's a reason why you have the First Amendment, then the Second Amendment.
One, right?
There's a reason why they're back to back, and it was just like one of those, but like the same thing goes with them where it's like, he made that mistake and then people voted him to become a freaking senator. And I'm like, hold on, man. Like we want to talk about.
People are not aware of their surroundings.
We want to talk about values of the United States. We want to talk about being an American. What the hell? Like, you guys are not paying attention. You want to pay attention to things like the half-cent sales tax? Get the out of here. Come on, bro. Let's talk about the real issue. Let's talk about the fact that people have rights, people have freedoms, liberties. Those are the things that you are supposed to be fighting for, and you have already proved that you'll give it up.
Yep. Freely.
Yep. And that's who we're voting into office. And those were the little things that I was looking at, and I was like, did anybody? No, it's not on WBB. It's not on WJHG. It's not on the News Herald. It's not. Nobody online writes anything about it. And then, but as soon as I write something about it and I put that out on social media, then it's like Ron Keel's attacking so-and-so. And
He's
it's
a
like,
bad guy.
Oh
and that's my
God.
biggest issue. People think when you disagree with them, you don't like them.
It's like, no, I disagree with people.
And I can still be your friend.
Me and this dude over here, we argue all the time. We're the same party affiliation. We're the same everything. We argue all the time. We still love each other.
Right, exactly.
Oh, we do it all the time. It's just like, but yeah, you're right. When you get into politics,
Oh, you're a bad person when you don't agree.
but no, like with Daniel, and I know I'm talking more about mine than yours, but I guess it's because it's more recent.
Yeah.
But like both these guys, they saw eye to eye on everything, and it was like, here I am, I'm over here going, nah, man, like there's always a 5-0 vote. We need to fight against these local infrastructure contractors to make sure that they don't bring back, locals' preference. I know that was one of my big things that I was just like, no, absolutely not. We can't do that. My platform was pretty freaking simple. I knew that I had ideas of the county being able to reach out to the community better through social media, maybe even a podcast to be able to talk about what's going to be voted on and getting people involved with that way. But Tommy and Daniel said nothing new. Nothing
Same
new.
in my race. Nothing new.
Same
Matter of fact, nothing at all.
thing. No new ideas.
Nothing.
Tommy just knew more about the position
Because he was in the position, right?
And the dude, and that dude, if you think, and I'll say it to this day, never know as much as Tommy did. Tommy had a degree in economics.
Wow.
And the dude had studied this. So, I mean, that was never covered by the media. I was saying full-time, it's a full-time position. You're getting paid $80,000
Oh, wow.
a year.
Really? I ran in the wrong race then.
Yeah. A county commissioner gets paid over $80,000 a year.
And it's not full time, it's part time.
No, it should be. No. Hold on. They have the ability to work it full-time.
Okay.
But who does? I mean, Tommy put in a lot of hours because he was the chairman. So, I mean, he actually, because
Day, night.
Yeah, he was up there. But I don't know. After looking to see how many people voted in the presidential election versus the
Local election.
my whole thing about it is like nobody voted.
Nobody cared.
The only people that voted were the people that you had in your back pocket and the people that have an interest in those things.
Right.
The amount of people that voted in the election is about the same amount of people that work for most of the companies that backed both of these dudes.
Bingo. While our races were different times, different eras, you're speaking almost parallel to what happened in my race. No hate, no shade. But when I ran, I stepped down from being an executive director of a nonprofit. Immediate, that's a conflict of interest, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have access to different grants, different programs. You don't want anyone to think or even it appear that you're presenting a bias towards your particular organization or any organization that you're aligning yourself with. And that's the same thing in my particular race. They didn't step down from their position. And then now that they're in the position, you'll see everything happening is in connection to the organization that they're in.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even want that vision. You shouldn't even want it to appear as though there's a conflict. But when that's how it is and everyone accepts it, you just kind of go with the flow, right? Yeah. Just like that's what it is. That's how it works. And that's where I would say I would never run again because I can't operate in that spirit. Yeah. I can't operate in a place where You can't be transparent. And I know a lot of people don't like that word, but just be upfront and honest with people. Damn it, just tell the truth. And that doesn't happen often when you're in that position of being in the political world. You have to sugarcoat things. And being in the military, we can't sugarcoat shit.
Yeah.
Sugarcoat something, get someone's life taken. It's that serious. So you should hold yourself to a higher standard when you're in those positions. And I don't see that happening locally.
Yeah, that was actually, you just hit that on the head, because that was like one of the things, right? Like people will sit there and they'll be like, I'll sit there and talk, and the question will be simple. And it's like, I'm going to draw out an entire painting of Leonardo da Vinci to answer this question.
Yes!
And it's like, this is the most simple.
Yes.
It's yes or no.
Yes or no.
Like, it's yes or no.
And you never hear
it's
the
like,
yes or no. You just hear the whole circle
Yep.
going round and round. And that was my frustration, Ron. It was like, never gave a direct answer, never stood on either side of the podium. It was always in the middle, and this is what you guys want? Wow. So you don't deserve my time, right?
Yeah.
If you don't care, how can I care more than you?
Yep. No, I agree with you.
But I love my community. I'm still there.
I love my kids. And I don't want to see them grow up in a bad place. And so that was kind of like that was my whole thing, man. And I'll go back to that. And I think you want to see it more than anything is like, I just wanted more options for when my kids do graduate and they decide what they want to do with their life. I don't think that they should have the only option of college, bartender, waitress, housekeeper. And it's like, and then I said that during my campaign and I was attacked on it. Oh, Ron Kuehl looks down on these people. I'm like, my dad has made his entire freaking living on this. I was in the service industry for the longest time. It was so funny because Daniel, he hit me on the beer. Well, he said that he wanted to say that he had done so much recon on me. And then he wanted to be like, you made fun of beer slingers. I was a beer slinger for 3 years. I served beer on the beach for 3 years. And he wanted to sit there and be like, you're making fun of them. And I'd be like, that's kind of like being fat and making fun of fat people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I mean, anyway.
And that's what they do in the race, right? They try to find the smallest sound bite and use it against you and not have done not one lick of research, trying. And I will say this in my race, we didn't have any of that kind of back and forth. I would always tell people, I'm not running against the opponent. I'm running for the seat. I don't care what they're saying, not saying what they're not doing. I have my platform and what I want to do. Hopefully they have theirs, and we'll see who gets the poll and wins the most numbers.
I was like that at the beginning, but there towards the end, I was running against them because I wanted to stop what they were
And then
doing.
you saw that they were together basically on everything.
Yeah. As long as he understands that you're owned by the people of the county, you're fine. You'll do all right. But
that's a big piece you just said. Ooh, it hit me. Being a servant.
Yeah.
That's what's lacking in most of those positions. They get there and I'm the boss. I'm the leader. I know everything. No, you don't.
Most of the people, because I kept up with other races before my race, and it's so funny hearing somebody that jumps up there and they start talking about, I want to serve. Do you know what comes along with that?
Right.
Like, you're just running your mouth. Like, you don't really know what
no
that's
clue.
going to entail. Some of this is going to be edited out. The majority of what I've said probably won't be there. You're going to listen to this, you're going to be like, babe, I could have swore he said some other shit in there. And you'd be like, no, I never said any of that.
What are you talking about, Michelle? That was all you.
I'm talking the majority of this. Ron didn't say hardly anything the entire time.
I got to go see this guy, this editing guy, this marine guy.
Yeah, right. But no, so, all right. Yeah, we pretty much hit on your entire resume, hit on everything.
So.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I think the only thing I would like to end or share with you guys is that the fight continues, right? Rather you serve or not, or if you decide to run again or not, there's a battle in this county that has yet to be won. People are still suffering. People are still struggling. People are still in food pantry lines. People are still trying to make ends meet, working not just 2, 3 jobs. And our education system, You mentioned your 5-year-old going to school. You're trying to figure out which school. It's tough, man. Rather private, charter, public, it is tough. These schools aren't what they used to be. We're not taking care of teachers like we should. So I encourage anyone out there, rather 18 to 95, get involved in your local politics. Get involved in what's happening in your community. Pay attention before it's too late.
Well, something that I don't think is talked about enough, it's our responsibility to find out who we want to run for us too.
Yes, absolutely.
That's not talked about enough, and I don't think that it's encouraged enough. Like, especially you being in contact with so many people as you are in the community, looking at somebody and hearing somebody talk, and then go, you know what? You need to run for this position that's open right now, and this is why. Because I've heard you say you don't have people encouraging people to run,
right?
And the people that are, there's an interest that's there for it.
Bingo.
So,
hit it on the head.
if you, and I don't think that it's like, and it is one of those things, like when you come forth and you say that you're running for office, and I'm sure you dealt with this, like I'm running for office, and people would be like, huh, I never really struck you as the type of person that would want to do that. Everybody should want to.
Exactly.
You should want to put that time into the community. I wish, it's so funny because like people are like, oh, well, nothing would ever get done if we had term limits that were so short, right? So it's like, we have term limits that are of 8 years. I agree with the 8-year mark, but sometimes I wish it was sooner than that.
Yeah,
sometimes I'm like 4 years. And by the way, you can never run again in that realm. So if you're a city commissioner, you can't go and run for another city position seat ever again.
Right.
You did your 4 years.
Thank you for your service.
Yep. Thank you for what you did.
Yep.
You're done. We're moving on. Now, if you want to go run for mayor, sure, that's fine. If you want to tack that on, but these politicians, because I think I was just talking to a representative not too long ago from one of the cities, and he had made the comment about, well, I've served this amount of time, so I'm not going to be able to run in the next election. So I have to sit out for 4 years, but then I can run again. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, I'll be able to run again. And I was like, no.
Why would you want
You're
to?
gone, And so, these guys got initiatives that they want to see. And I admire that where guys want to follow their work along to
completion.
But how about you pick somebody in the community that would best suit
and you
what
could
you're
mentor
looking for?
them
And you can mentor
support
them on the
them.
things that you had done. We don't have a lot of mentorships when it comes to it.
Nope.
That was one of the things that I said to Tommy. Yeah, I might have to... I'll talk to him about it, see if I can talk about it. But it was like one of those, like,